Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Shots from the Bench. It's only sports talk, and of course, all opinions are both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. My partner is Bob Murphy. Greg Malinsuk's behind the scene, I'm laughing. He's behind the scene running the cameras, keeping sanity and doing everything else, probably, and also getting me Arnold Palmer's when I get thirsty. We're here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun is always seated first. We're here every Sunday afternoon, so come in, down, over, and out. Come over and join us. We'd love to see you here. We'll be throwing some trivia questions at the fans, and also we'll be keeping up to speed on what's going on with the ball games on the big screen. And, of course, we are. Shots from the Bench is the only sports talk show in the Villages. And Bob, I wanted to talk to you a little bit first of all about, we can recap briefly the two games that we didn't go over last week that were going on while we were talking, and then we can certainly talk about what's coming up. Oh, yeah. What's your opinion on how we got to where we are with the Denver Broncos and the Steelers and the Seahawks and the Panthers?
Well, certainly the Steelers didn't have anything to offer Denver last week, that's for sure. They were depleted and not at full strength. We kind of knew that going in, didn't we?
Yeah, I think everybody picked those right. Yeah, I remember we did. I'm not very good at predictions, but I got that one right. Yeah.
You know, so I just think, what are you going to do? Big Ben, I think the right teams are in there this week.
I agree with
sure.
you. I think and sometimes it doesn't the case, but I think you've got the best teams playing.
Also, the Panthers had a 31-0 lead.
We watched that first half while we were on.
We were wiping our hands of that one. We weren't going to worry about that. And Seattle came roaring back with 24 straight points. How does that happen in a playoff game? You think Carolina kind of took their eye off the ball there
I think that's exactly right. I get you get a big lead and you start thinking, let's get this game over with and stay healthy. And the next thing you know, they're down. They're only up by 7. But we talked off camera, that's what we call small consolation to the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, absolutely.
Can't be getting behind 31-0 in the first half in the semifinal game. That doesn't work too well.
So Seattle, probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. Minnesota should have finished them off the game before with that field goal, but hey, that's history.
Well, you're right.
I think the best teams wound up in the finals. I think, today the first game, New England and Denver, is a very good game. We're going to handicap that in a second.
Sure.
And the second game, after that, Cardinals at the Panthers is also the two best teams in the NFC.
I wanted to ask you, which one's first?
New England and Denver's first.
Oh, it is? Okay. I know one's at 3:30 and one's at 7:30 or 8. Okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually that would make that, like a noontime game out in Denver?
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. So that's why they had to start it a little bit later.
So, but let's take a look at that game.
Sure.
While we're talking about New England going into Denver. Denver with Peyton Manning back at quarterback. Both teams pretty much at full strength right now from the way it looks, right? I got to look at that game and say with New England's receivers back, Edelman and Amendola in there and Gronkowski, the way he's playing. Sheesh. Their defense is playing fantastic.
Really is playing a lot better than it has the last couple of years.
Which matches Denver's. And then with Peyton, I'm just waiting for Peyton to make a big mistake. I'm not against him, but I'm telling you, we've watched him all year long.
He's not the same player.
He's not the same player.
No, you're right.
Maybe his experience will help him in some situations, but I don't think that he's got the strength of arm to make the big throws into tight coverages.
I agree with that.
And and this is going to be he has a history of losing some of these big games, especially against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So I'm making a pick.
All right, let's hear it.
I've got a score for you and everything.
I like it. Let's hear it.
All right. I'm picking New England, 27-17. over
Not bad.
Denver.
Not
That's
bad.
That's mine.
You've got my pick, and my pick was 28-13,
Okay.
New England.
Pretty close. Pretty
It's something
close.
that you were talking about, and like I said, maybe Peyton's got something up his sleeve that he hasn't shown the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not rooting against him. Like I said.
I mean, wouldn't it be great if when the Broncos win, he gets on the camera and says, "Tell those two jerks down at Shots from the Bench that I'm not finished yet."
I hope Peyton comes out. I hope he comes out, and it's a slugfest, and it goes down to the wire, and between the two of them. And
Absolutely.
I'd love to see Peyton have a great game, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in it.
I think that I think seeing is believing, and I agree with you. I don't think that Peyton's gonna. I don't know if you can chip and charge all the way up and down the field. That's what Brady does, and Brady looks like he still has it. So
I just can't imagine him even coming back after this season. It's been that type of season. I mean, I
can't see it either. But money makes people do strange things. So. We'll see what gives. I mean, he's got an awful lot of advertising dollars with Papa John's and everything else. So I think
he has some great commercials. That's for sure.
Yeah, he'd have to
can
hang
keep
in
doing
there.
that. He does very good at those.
Sure, he does.
But age and injuries are going to kill every major athlete, aren't they?
Eventually.
I don't care who it is.
The good ones can get out on time, right? That's the ones you really tip your hat to. Like Jim Brown, to me, I mean, he accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. He was still healthy, and he wasn't even 30, I think. And
look at Brady. I mean, Brady's about the same age as
Manning.
Manning.
And
he doesn't show any signs. It's
amazing.
just a matter of heredity and how the body's breaking down.
And plus, he's got still has that competitive fire. I know a lot of people don't like him because I like the fact that it matters to him.
Sure.
I really like that.
Oh, like I said, I like both these guys. They're quality guys, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
Great leaders, and it could be the game of the year. We'll see what happens with it.
It'd be nice if Peyton can pull it off, but we'll see. I don't think I'm putting my money on it right now.
I'm with you. I pick at least a 10-point to 14-point victory for Brady and the Patriots.
Now the second game today, actually it would be this evening. Cardinals at the Panthers.
That's exciting.
That should be a good game.
I guess I don't know enough about how they're going to match up with each other, but that just screams it's going to be a really close, really
both
a
defenses
slugfest.
are pretty even.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They're, I can't really name a lot of their players on the Panthers or even on the Cardinal defense. I know that Patrick Patterson is one of the best cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback in the league.
He's definitely a shutdown. He's a great quarterback.
Makes a lot of big plays,
Yep.
and he's always in the middle of everything. Of course, offensively, they match up pretty well together, both teams. Maybe a slight edge to the Cardinals.
Okay.
Because of their balanced attack with their great receivers and Carson Palmer and the running back.
Those
David
running
Johnson.
backs are good too. I tell you what, they're performers.
But we've got the potential and more than likely the MVP candidate running the show over in Carolina with tight end Greg Olsen and Ted Ginn Jr. And you know what he brings? An intangible that Carson Palmer can't bring. When things break down,
he can take off.
He's getting a 15-yard run on you.
Yeah.
And so he makes everybody watch.
And they even have some set plays for him to run. I mean, that's how much of an athlete he is. He's
it's a tough game to handicap, but we have to make a pick. If we have to make one.
I'll tell you what. I'll go first on this
Go
one.
ahead.
I think that it's going to be Carolina, and I think it's because of Newton's mobility as opposed to Palmer's lack thereof. I mean, I think they're both excellent quarterbacks having great years. I just think the fact that Newton's able to improvise a little more, and I think that Palmer's a tad immobile. We'll see. He wasn't last week. Obviously, he bailed him out with that. He sidestepped the rush last week and threw that pass to Fitzgerald. But I'll tell you what, that's just my take on it. I really don't have a dog in the fight, but I would, if I had to pick, I'd pick Carolina.
It's a tough one to pick against you, but just for the sake of being against you.
I love it. I love it.
Of course, the Cardinals were my Super Bowl pick to win it all.
I would
so
bet
they're still in there.
I would bet that you're going to pick them again.
But this is their toughest test to date. I'm picking the Cardinals 34-30 in a shootout.
That is a shootout. Well, you may be right, man. The Panthers.
I think these two offenses are not to be stopped, really.
Well, I think that's a real good
One
point.
turnover is going to decide the game.
I hope that's wrong, but you're probably right. I mean, Fitzgerald, and I can't remember the running back's name for the Cardinals.
David Johnson.
That guy's a wonderful player.
He's a very good running back.
Really good running back. So
of course, they don't have to use him like an Adrian Peterson or somebody with
right.
all those receivers they've got, and Fitzgerald and Floyd and everybody. But we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what. So you've given me 34-30. I don't have a score, but
give me a score.
All right, I'm going to say it's. I say the Cardinals are going down. I'm going to say 38-20.
How much you going to make it back?
I'm not betting any money though. That. If I had to bet, it would be that I would be wrong no matter who I pick. Since although I still have a dog in the fight on the Super Bowl. Remember I took the Patriots.
Yeah.
I know you. If I remind you, you had the Bengals, right?
I did.
All right. Well, then we still got one team left.
So you're doing good over there, and I'm doing bad over there. But I'm doing good over here, and you're doing bad over here. So
you won't believe this. You know how many calls I get from people always ask me what my opinion is on who's going to win? I don't get any, and I think it's probably because I've had such a bad season.
That's why we always say our opinions are both fabulous and flawed.
Fabulous and flawed,
because,
or fabulously flawed. That's how we go.
We're right.
About
It's fabulous.
But that's like I said, it makes for great conversation. And actually, one thing we agree upon is both games I think are really going to be good.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Of these three players, I don't know. I've just picked these. These are the three players I would pick.
All right.
Which three of these players do you think are the hardest to stop, and to be the biggest one that you have to stop?
All right.
Okay. The three are Cam Newton, Tom Brady, or Rob Gronkowski.
The toughest to stop?
Toughest to stop. The one that you have to worry about the most.
I would think
these games.
I would pick Brady.
Really?
Yeah. And the only reason is if Gronkowski doesn't have anybody throw him the ball, you got him stopped.
That's what I was thinking too. Out of the three, Gronkowski is unstoppable, but someone's got to get him the ball. So then that brings it down to Newton and Brady.
Yeah, and Newton's is the MVP of the league this year.
It's awful hard to pick against him.
They lost one.
But, Newton has the intangibles of running and doing crazy stuff that we haven't seen before,
Well, I'll tell you what.
But it's a good
this
point,
is
good thing that
and we can finish up on this. We're done with already the clock is run out on us on the first quarter. We'll be back with the second quarter. We'll pick up where we left off here, and we'll also start talking about some baseball signings. We got a lot up our sleeves, so stay with us here on Shots from the Bench. All right, we're back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun is always seated first. And, partner, just finishing up on the query that you posed, which was, I thought, very interesting. While I think Cam Newton has showed phenomenal physical skills and great leadership characteristics, I think over the long haul, I'd say Brady probably would be the guy I'd want to, be the toughest to stop because he's done it for 15 years.
Yeah, he has the longer body of work for sure.
Yeah.
But Newton does bring just such intangible to, like 1 minute he's running for 15 yards and the next minute he's throwing a 20-yard laser down the field to a guy in tight coverage, so it's crazy. But what a good thought to think about anyway.
Absolutely.
And the two of those, who's
and like
the toughest?
I said, and Brady's got on his side the fact that he's been in the situation for so long, and he keeps doing it. In fact, we were talking off camera. He's got 4 Super Bowls. He lost fifth because of that guy from the Giants made that phenomenal catch at midfield. I'll tell you what, he and I remember Joe Montana when Montana played, and I thought Montana's about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
But I think Brady is actually up the ante.
I didn't think anyone would be better than Montana.
I didn't either. But, I find that fantastic.
If he wins today at Denver, which I think he will, that's what we picked, right?
Absolutely.
We'll see. And then he goes on and wins the Super Bowl for his 5th Super Bowl. got to be considered the greatest quarterback of all time.
And the best, and with all the dynasties we've had, it's got to be the greatest dynasty of all time.
Because he's lost some Super Bowls too.
I know, but that's how that stands. But I'll tell you what, let's segue a little bit into what I noticed in the paper last night, and we talked about it. I think it's a big deal is that Cespedes has signed with the Mets.
Yep.
As we're going to segue to baseball, and
I'm a little happy about that.
I think you would be very happy about it. All of a sudden, it makes the Mets from a real competitive team to just an absolutely outstanding team. If he has any type of impact like he did when he joined them last year.
Well, apparently he wanted to come to the Mets all along, but didn't quite let that be known. I think the thing that really got this deal done in just this past weekend, late Saturday night, was the fact that the Nationals had offered him a 5-year, whatever it was, $125 million deal, something like that.
I'd like to get one of those and have to turn it down. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I don't need it.
And the fact that he was balking, and then the Mets, he really wanted to play in New York.
Well, that's huge, because you're in a pressure cooker there, and if you want, a lot of guys don't want that, and I think we talked about that too off camera.
Yep.
But he does, and so he's got to be delighted.
So the Mets now with that pitching staff, and which is only, their pitching staff is actually going to get better than it was last year.
Sure.
Because they've got, of course they got Harvey, DeGrom and Syndergaard, okay. And then they're going to have Matz, who only played half a season last year.
Yeah, but boy, you could tell how good he was.
And how good this kid's going to be.
That kid's going to really be good.
And then for a while, the first half of the season, they'll have Bautista Colon as the fifth starter. Not a bad fifth starter. Until Zach Wheeler, who's coming off Tommy John surgery, comes back. And he was a 17-game winner the year before that. So they're going to have Zach Wheeler coming back second half of the year. Bartolo can come down and spot start and be a middle reliever. And then they picked up some, Neil Walker from the Pirates, which is like a Murphy-type player.
And they gave Nisi up for that, and I thought, so the Pirates are thrilled they get a decent left-handed pitcher, but the Mets, he was expendable by the Mets, and Mets got a very, very, very good
younger version of Daniel Murphy and a better defender, about the same hitter.
Same hitter, but he's reliable. Play 150 games, switch it. I mean,
and they've strengthened their infield with a shortstop. I forget his name.
I know what you mean. It's not coming to me either.
But they got another player. They've really strengthened their infield and their outfield now. They're pitching. They just picked up a couple of good relievers, couple of good left-hander relievers.
That's what they really needed too. I mean, they were strong last year, but their bullpen, I think, hurt them a couple times, and I think they made sure that's not going to happen again.
If you're looking for the team to beat in the National League, this is the team right now. This is the team. The Dodgers have lost. I believe they've lost players. They lost. Didn't they lose Greinke?
Yeah, they lost him to Arizona. Absolutely.
Yep.
In fact, I was going to say, I think you're right, but I think Arizona and San Francisco might argue with you because
the Cubs also should be
Cubs.
Good.
That's right. But those are the four teams: the Mets, the Cubs, Arizona, and San Francisco. I think are definitely the cream of the crop in the National League.
If the Mets had lost Cespedes, now they signed him to a 3-year, $75 million deal, by the way, with a 1-year opt-out clause for Cespedes.
Yeah.
Which the Mets don't mind because they're not looking for long-term deals. I think personally that what they're going to do, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but I think they're going to use Cespedes for another year and then probably try to trade Matt Harvey. I think they're going to do that after this year, unless he just has a 25-win season or something this year. And the public outcry for that would be through the roof. But I think then they'll get a slugger that way with a lesser money.
You'll get a good slugger for Harvey.
But with all this pitching staff young and where they are right now, to go into a season and not have the best possible team now before you lose some of these players to free agency.
That's smart.
It's the thing to do.
This is what you have to go for. You have to go for it while the door's open, and all you can do is pray that the young guys, the DeGroms, the Syndergaard, I mean, as long as they stay healthy.
So on paper, anyway. On paper.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. But you know what?
You never know what's going to happen.
Some of these great young pitchers, I hope they don't, but all I can think about is that Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood when they were at the Cubs.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Guy wins 19 games and you never hear from Mark Pryor again because
Right.
so you hope that they've got his arm under control and you see where that gives.
Sure.
See where it takes you.
Yeah, so that's what's going on there with the Mets over this past weekend, free agent signing. That changed didn't make the Nationals very happy, I know.
Well, how about, and you were talking about, how about Davis re-signing with Baltimore?
Yep.
He was dangling a carrot out there, and I think he got some
Right.
ridiculously sick money. But,
Oh, yeah.
home runs will do that.
Yeah, I think he's got the fourth best amount of money ever paid to a first baseman
Tell you
in
what.
the history of.
And he's had a couple good years, but he also had a stinkeroo year in there. So,
Well, there's not too many guys in the non-steroid era hitting 47 home runs.
no, you
Remember back in the steroid era?
Yeah, the good old days.
Wasn't too long ago.
Everybody was in.
We used to do steroids.
Grady, I used to do steroids, but unfortunately, I didn't know what I was taking them for. When I do an essay, I'd take steroids, so I could write a 100-page essay. But
No, none of us has joked.
I just remember Grady Anderson hitting 8 home runs like 5 years in a row for the Orioles and hitting 52. And then he went back to hitting 8.
We're watching these guys hit, 55, 60, 60 home runs. What was did someone hit 70?
Oh yeah, well
McGuire?
I think Barry Bonds.
Barry
did.
Bonds
yeah.
hit 70.
Yeah.
Like wow. And then all of a sudden, the light could shine on the steroid era, and now they're back down to 35, 40.
I just like the little guys, all like Brett Boone. They go from 8 years of hitting 10 to 3 years of hitting 44, and I think something happened there.
Right,
Then when they get investigated, they go back to hitting 10. So.
I know.
Interestingly enough,
Right,
I'll tell you what. And while we're on baseball, I was
sure.
the talk that's now going on. In fact, I wanted to bounce this off you because I was talking off camera with Greg about this. And it's not a National League or American League bias I have, but I do have a bias with the DH. And I see the National League in an effort. They're thinking about going to the DH.
No,
yeah,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, well, I guess it hasn't been cast in stone yet, but they'll lose a big fan from me if they go to the DH.
We're both National League guys here.
Well, okay, that's right. I know, I understand the theory behind it.
Let them keep their DH.
I'd much rather see a well-played 5-4 game than a game where it's 12-10 and all these guys, these DH guys that in their 40s that can't run anymore.
I like the fact that there's something distinguishable between the American League and the National League. Why does everything have to be exactly the same?
No.
We go play in their ballparks. Go ahead, we'll have a DH and we'll trot out one of our bench players to play.
Yeah.
And then when you come over to our place, you got to have a pitcher pitch. A pitcher hit rather.
Pitcher hit.
And
yeah.
so I like that. I like to see that. It's kind of fun.
Well,
but to make everything the same is just like.
Well, that's what I mean. Okay. Well, you make a good point. I guess I'm just saying. To me, it's just managing a team with a DH is nothing at all. To me, you don't have to make. There's no strategy to it. There's just
Yeah.
Okay, they put a left-handed pitcher in. Let's put a right-handed batter
It
up.
extends the career of guys that should retire
No
or
question.
are injured.
No question.
in
Some
certain
people
ways
love
that
that. I was
still-
talking to Greg. Some people love to see that, but
I know.
I just.
There's points for both.
How about this? I said eventually it's going to come down to we're going to end up with 2 DHs, and eventually it's going to be all offensively. You'll have 9 hitters, and in the field you'll send 9 separate players out that
They'll
are
play
top
wiffle ball.
defensively. But so I'm again. That's I'm sour on that, but. Being a big baseball fan, I just when I heard that was going to be the consideration, I just wasn't happy
I didn't
about
hear
it.
that. I'm glad I didn't hear it.
But it's interesting. You were talking about the National League, but after all these signings, who do you like in the American League? Who do you think's the team that's going to benefit the most from the free agents?
To be honest with you, I haven't made a pick for the.
I know the
American
Red
League.
Sox.
I think Toronto.
Red
is
Sox
probably,
and Toronto are really loaded
I think
for bear.
Toronto. This could probably be their year. They just missed last year, and Kansas City lost a couple of players, and so I think that's what's. And they're not getting back players of equal value. So and Toronto is pretty much the same team, so they'd be my pick.
Well, you make a good point there because Kansas City, now that they've won, they can either act like they're going to get in the game and keep winning, because anytime you win a World Series, you're going to lose a couple players because somebody's going to pay them more money than they're worth. But the fact is, right now, they've got their window where they got to stay after it. So I guess I hope that but like I said, I think that Boston and Toronto are the two teams that are passing them by right now.
Yeah, Boston has improved themselves for sure.
No question.
Absolutely. So that could be a very interesting race right there.
So that's our wrap-up as we get into halftime. The coach will tell us our clock management skills, again, aren't up to par. But in the meantime, we're going to go in and put some Gatorade on them, and we'll relax and enjoy ourselves and come out in a couple minutes for the third quarter of Shots from the Bench here from Margarita Republic. Stay with us, folks. All right, we are back with the third quarter of Shots from the Bench as we come through we break through the paper, and we are ready to take the field for the third quarter. Before we get started with our NBA talk, I'd like to pose a couple questions, and I know Bob will too, some trivia questions. So give these questions some thought. When you get a chance, see if when we call out for some answers in the fourth quarter, you can help us. I've got 4 Super Bowl. They are past Super Bowl coaches, and I want to know their college, what they did before they became the coach of the team that won the Super Bowl, and what year they started. So I'm going to ask that about Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, Chuck Nolan, Bill Walsh. Want to know what college they went to, what was their job before they became the head coach of their Super Bowl teams, and what year did they start coaching that team? And you've got some other questions that you wanted to pose also, correct, Bob? What do you have?
Oh, well, I was going to save that for the fourth quarter, but...
Oh, sure. Well, they can think about it and get back to you in the fourth quarter. What do you got?
What I came up with was what are some of the best duos in sports history. Now, these duos can be teammates, duos. They can be rivals,
okay.
Or they can be sportscasters, duos.
Okay.
Some of the best duos in sports history. Now, I wrote a bunch down, and I want to see what they had to say.
So you'll get that, like everybody will get a chance in the fourth question before we go into our rants. We're going to ask you about the NFL Super Bowl coaches, and we're going to talk about famous duos. And I think that'll be interesting, so give that some thought, and we'll ask you to participate in the fourth quarter on that. But third quarter time always means it's time to talk a little NBA, and we had something very, very significant happen in the NBA this week. Why don't we talk about that, Bob?
Talk about coaches a minute ago. Okay?
Yes.
We had a firing of a coach the other day, 2 days ago, that is extremely puzzling to a lot of people. I mean, how do you fire a coach of a team that's 30-11, leading your conference in wins, and the Cleveland Cavs fired David Blatt over the weekend. All of a sudden this breaking news came across the wire. David Blatt fired coach of and here's the part that really upsets me, is that LeBron James says, he was surprised and caught off guard. Seriously?
I'm not sure that's
now.
Tough
Are you trying to tell me that you are arguably the top 1 or 2 players in the NBA for all these years, right? And you don't know your coach is getting fired? Here's what I think. I think you were the reason your coach got fired.
I have a feeling he brought it up.
That's what I think.
But what I thought was really interesting, I was reading the paper.
You don't know.
Seeing the paper, and they were quoting the owners, and they said they didn't like the direction the team was going. You didn't like the direction?
So
30-11?
You're trying to tell me that Tyrone Lue, the new coach, I don't think he's had any major coaching experience, maybe as an interim, he's better than David Blatt, who has all that international experience, coaching all kinds of teams all over the place.
I hope we hear from Blatt coming up, because I'd love to hear what his take on it.
Now, last year, there was some rumblings about this, that the personality between David Blatt and LeBron James was in flux.
Yeah, I remember that.
That LeBron was running the team. Did you hear that last year?
Yeah, that's
LeBron's running the team.
Yep.
And then they would show a video of LeBron, Blatt would be saying something to him. He totally ignores him.
Yeah,
and,
I
and
saw.
walks over here and over here.
That was last year, and they made it to the finals.
If you want to be have people on your side and be rooting for you, LeBron I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, how can that be?
I think it's going to make him look.
For
it's
you?
going to make him look bad. There's no question about it.
How can that be positive for you?
There's no other excuse
crazy.
for firing a team, the coach of a team who's in first place by a significant margin.
Having said that, I guess we'll get into what's going on in the NBA.
Let's hear it. Let's see. Now, obviously, Cleveland's in first place, but they fired their coach.
Interesting transpires because I think basically LeBron's running the show. He's the coach.
No doubt about it.
Tyronn Lue is a better coach than LeBron James. Really? I don't know. We'll see. That really upset me to see how that went down in Cleveland. But okay, so Cleveland's number 1 in the East, 30-11, and the Raptors are still holding in there at number 2, 28-15. The Hawks, the Bulls, the Pacers, so forth and so on. Now, a team that has slipped in the East big time in the past week is the Miami Heat. They were up as far as number 2. The Raptors supplanted them. Then they dropped to 3. They've been free-falling. They're down to number 8 this week now.
Have they lost anybody of significance, or is it just
bad,
just not getting it done?
They're just not getting it done.
Wow.
They're just not getting it done. They're down to 2 games over 500, the 8th spot. They got the Knicks and the Wizards, climbing up close to them for that number 8th spot.
Yeah.
So who knows? But that's a free fall. They've dropped through several teams to get to the number 8 spot. And another team that's puzzling in the Eastern Conference that were in the middle of the pack just a couple of weeks ago is the Orlando Magic. They've lost 10 out of 11 games.
I guess it is puzzling, but I'm watching them play at the beginning of the year. I thought they were a little over their head. They have a couple talented players, but I just don't know if they're.
Well, they brought in Scott Skiles.
Yeah.
To be their coach.
Right.
He was supposedly added to give them a better defensive mindset, to bring them together, so forth and so on. And it looked like it was working because they were like 10 games over 500 at one point, or close to it. And they were up in the number 4 spot or 5 spot rather in the Eastern Conference, and really showing everybody saying, oh, the Magic under Skiles are doing well. But now, what's happened?
Well, I don't see the leadership. I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, they have a couple. What's the guy? Viscuna? What's the?
Well, they don't have any veterans on the team other than Channing Frye and.
Yeah. What's the big guy with the?
Vukovic?
Yeah. I mean, he's a talent, but I don't know if he's.
Tobias Harris is very good, and
I just don't know anybody.
Oladipo and.
They need somebody to grab guys by their.
They've got a lot of young players.
Shirts.
That's one thing I notice about them. Is about this team is that you got to have a nice mix of veteran leadership and young players. You can't just have young players. So when they were saying, "Oh, the Magic are going to be so much better than last year," I'm like, "Well, where's the veteran leadership?" They got players that are been on the team for 3 or 4 years, and then some newer ones on top of that, which by the way haven't really panned out that great.
Yeah.
I mean, Gordon is not a great player. He's okay. And then they got Fournier, the kid from Herzonia, the 2 guard, who is really not showing a lot of signs of breaking out. So they need a defensive team. I need to get some changes made. Matter of fact, I heard the local sports guy Scott Inez in Orlando say, if they lose to the Sixers tonight, he said, if they lose tonight, I'm done with them. And I'm telling you right now, he goes, I want them to make some trades. Well, guess who they lost to?
Yeah.
The Sixers, right?
Sixers beat them.
A 5-win team came in and beat them. So,
that's what I mean. Right now,
wrong.
like I said, I'm guessing it's leadership. I mean, they have a couple talent. They're not real deep, but they got some talented people. But
sure.
But I wouldn't have picked them to.
Right.
I wouldn't pick them to be in the
hunt for a playoff spot.
They could be in the hunt,
they still
but
might be.
I don't. Yeah, but some of those teams, you got the Wizards are pretty strong,
right?
And the Knicks are getting their act together. So I mean, there's.
Well, the Knicks lost 2 in a row that they looked pretty bad in losing. All right, so
they're like Orlando. To me, the Knicks, they have the potential. They could be good, but they just need,
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Good
Over in the Western Conference, of course, the top 2 teams still. And then
Golden
you got the Thunder,
State and Thunder.
Golden State and the Spurs. They're 2 games, only 2 games separating them. The Warriors are 40-4, and the Spurs are 38-6. Okay, and guess what? They play tomorrow night. I can't wait to see that game.
Where's that going to be? Do you know?
I don't know exactly where.
Okay, well, it doesn't make any difference. That's a game.
I know they play tomorrow night.
That's a game you want to see. No question about it.
That is a game you want to see. That is a game to see. The Thunder are playing well. Still not quite. The Spurs are still the best. They're still the best teams. I personally think that the Spurs are going to win the Western Conference. I really do.
I'll tell you what. They're all well rested. That coach Popovich gets. He gets their guys. I see that Duncan's not even averaging 10 points. I mean, he's getting their older guys and they're staying fresh. And they come in the game, they can play hard. And when they get gassed, he gets them out of there.
I think the Spurs' second unit is better than the Warriors' second unit. I mean,
I agree with that.
As good as Stephen Curry is, and he's fabulous, it's unbelievable. And Draymond Green, I mean, there's no doubt they're a fabulous team.
They're a fabulous team. There's no question.
It's going to be interesting. That's why I want to see this matchup tomorrow. One game isn't going to change everything, but it's going to be interesting to see them play against each other. I just think the Spurs have more depth. And they're defensively, and they have a pedigree. They've got this. They've been doing this for so long. They've won so many championships with Popovich.
They sure don't panic when they get a little behind. Right. When things don't go their way.
They've got 3 Hall of Famers and a bunch of good players to go with them.
Wow.
Maybe 4 if you include Aldridge, so that's 4 Hall of Famers on their team. And then you got a lot of Kawhi Leonard right up there in the MVP voting this year.
Guy's a great player.
And then you got guys like David West coming off the bench with Patty Mills, a really good point guard from Australia, really good team. So I mean, that is going to be a battle.
But they work them all in. That's what I really like. When I watch them play, it's not like they get them fresh, they sit them out, and they bring them back, and then they're at the top of their game, and that's why they're so stinking good. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. A team with that many veteran players keep winning so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
had
impressed.
to get going on that coach situation.
Well, you have to do it because, like I said, I'll segue for a second. I remember when the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Hockey League, they fired a coach when they were in first place, and I'm sure, no offense to Mario, but Mario said it had nothing to do with it. Mario had everything to do with it. So I have a feeling LeBron can duck it as much as he wants, but I'm pretty sure LeBron had a lot to do with their coach getting fired with a 30-11 record.
Another thing that's coming up in the NBA is the trading deadline. Okay, I think it's like February 20th or something like that. But there's a lot of talk and whispers about potential trades that are going to be coming up. Is Kevin Love going to stay with the Cavs? That's another one. Is Irving, Love, and LeBron really meshing? Is that really what's going on?
30-11.
There's talk of the Knicks making a trade for Derrick Rose, because Derrick Rose, they want a wing player like a follow from the Knicks.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna cut out the third quarter right now, but we'll come back and just wrap up a little bit of the NBA talk, especially the trades, and we're gonna go back to our trivia questions, and I also have a rant or two that I'm going to make you suffer through, but it's really getting my goat, and I want to get it off my chest. We'll be back with the fourth quarter of Shots from the Bench right after this. Okay, folks, we are back with the fourth quarter of Shots from the Bench, and like I said, the strategy's all fallen into place for it. Now we've got to do a good job of just bringing it to its fruition. And let's talk real quickly about the Australian Open, because it's a major, big deal in tennis, and our big stars are still in it. So give me a rundown on that if you can, Bob.
Well, we have 4 women and 4 men into the quarters.
Sweet.
Today we'll decide the other 4 in each bracket. Who else gets in there.
All right.
But so far we've got, on the women's side, we got Serena Williams. She won in straight sets yesterday.
Serena Williams, are you kidding? She's winning?
I'm surprised at that. No, I'm not going to pronounce the people they're playing, because I think of all the years, this is the hardest year.
We'll call them all by nickname.
I mean, let me just give you I won't even give you an example. Some of the new women that are playing are very hard to get their. I mean, we can give you Victoria Azarenka, which you'll be happy.
That's not bad.
She's into the quarters.
I'm
by the way.
picking her just because I can say her name.
Well, no, actually, she hasn't played yet.
Oh,
Okay.
well, I'm still picking her.
But so you got Serena Williams. She won in straight sets. Rowatska.
Yeah.
We've had her before. She's number 4 in the world. She's into the quarters.
She's a player.
She won in 3 sets.
Wow.
And Maria Sharapova, of course, we know her. She's a straight set winner into the quarters.
So she's playing Serena, right?
She's playing Serena next.
Wow. Okay.
In the quarters. Now that's the match to watch right there.
Turn that one on if you like to hear people go every time they hit the ball. Maria's never really stopped that.
Right. And so you've got Azarenka did make it to the quarters. So Azarenka, Sharapova, Radwaska, and Serena are in the quarters, and today we'll determine who else gets into the quarters on the women's side. On the men's side, you've got of course Roger Federer won in straight sets.
Good for him.
Saw that this morning.
I root for him.
But Goffin, he was an interesting player, a Belgian player. Federer won in straight sets.
Wow.
He's into the quarters, no surprise there. Thomas Berdych, who's been around forever too, and the top 10 player for forever it seems.
Zero body fat. Thomas Berdych has no body fat.
He won in 5 sets. He won in 5 tough sets.
Whoa.
He's into the quarters. A very interesting player, Kai Nishikori.
Oh yeah.
Very good player.
He won a major last year. He's good.
Yeah.
That guy is good.
Yeah, he's a very good player. He beat Tonga in straight sets, 6-4, 6-2, 6-4.
Wow.
And Djokovic, I stayed up late watching that one against Gail Simone.
Yeah, Joe Simone.
In 5 sets. Simone just keeps the ball humming back, doesn't he?
They had a point in the first set.
It's like
the point lasted. It actually lasted 10 minutes.
Unbelievable.
A point. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. A game. They had a game that lasted 10 minutes. I never saw anything like it in my life.
I mean, some of the longest rallies I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
But Simone just keeps the ball. He was frustrating Djokovic. Djokovic wanted to end it the point sooner, and he just kept that ball coming back.
He gets it all back.
So he's back. So those are your top 4 men and women into the quarters. Just want to mention that. What was going on at the Australian. We'll find out after today. We'll have all the complete matchups going into the final week.
Love it.
There you are. There you are for that.
We'll be ready for that. I'll tell you what. Let's get an update on our trivia questions. I'm not going to give the answers just yet. I'm just going to refresh the trivia questions. We got trivia questions going with ex-Super Bowl football coaches, and I want to know about Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, Chuck Noll, and Bill Walsh. I want to know where they went to college, what they did before they were Super Bowl coaches, what team they were with, and what year they started with the teams that they won the Super Bowl in. And Bob was presenting what? The Fabulous Duos, or famous duos.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. There's a lot of great players that were rivals, that played together.
No question.
Let me give you some examples. Ruth and Garrick was just thrown out. He's on the list. How about rivals, Frazier and Ali?
Borg and McEnroe.
McEnroe and Connors.
Connors and McEnroe.
Borg and McEnroe. That's another one.
Well, McEnroe just hated everybody he played against. So
everybody wants a piece of him. They still do. How about Montana and Rice?
That's a great team.
Yeah.
How
about Gretzky and Messier? 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton.
If you're a hockey fan, you know that's a good one because they played together in a lot of great teams.
Jordan and Pippen.
Great.
Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale. How about Russell and Cousy? You could also make a case for Russell and Havlicek.
And his rivals, Russell and Chamberlain.
Russell and Chamberlain.
That's
there you go.
Good
rivals there. Very good. Very
Those
good.
Those are good.
You're picking up on this now.
We got them, but
how about Magic Johnson and Kareem?
That's good. And his rivals, Magic and Bird, right? Weren't they? I kind of thought they were rivals.
Magic and Isaiah too.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's right. I forgot about Isaiah. How can I do that?
Yeah. How about best duos in the booth? Pat Summerall and John Madden.
That's a real good one. I like that. I like Summerall and Madden. Trying to think. I go back to Gowdy and DeRogatis. I'm trying to think who else we had. On golf, you had Brookshire and Venturi.
Oh, yeah, Tom Brookshire.
Brookshire and Ken Venturi. I know they were doing a lot of the golf.
Right.
I remember them being a big
How
Big
about
team.
Larry Zonka and Jim Kick? What were they called?
They were the. Let's see.
It was a nickname.
What were they? I know Mercury Morris was put in jail, but I don't know what they're.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
Butch Cassidy
Kid.
and the Sundance Kid. Now I do remember that.
No, that's a sidekick for you right there. How about Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin?
These are guys that I can't remember. I mean, I remember them, but I don't think of them as duos until you mention them. I go, oh yeah, they were, because they were together a long, long time.
Here's one I should have said toward the beginning: Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer.
That's a great one.
How's that?
That's
that
as
for
big
one of
as
the
it
greatest-
gets. But they were actually a foursome, right? There was Trevino,
Right.
Nicholas Palmer, and who am I forgetting? Who was the fourth? Player. That's who I meant. Yeah.
Another one that really stands. Sometimes these teammates win a lot of championships. Sometimes they don't, and they're still great, duels. Two of them that really stand out to me. I don't know. I was so impressed with the way they played. Was Stockton and Malone. Karl Malone and John Stockton. The way they formed that pick and roll combination.
That's see, they're since they were in Utah. I didn't pay much attention to them, but every time they were in all the finals. Every time I'd go watch the final, they were in it. So
here's one that might not be on everybody's top of their list, but Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker formed a double play combination. I think they played the longest amount of games as a team together
You're right.
than any other
You're
duo
exactly
in
right
Major
about
League
that.
Baseball history.
And Alan Trammell actually got some votes for the Hall of Fame. I noticed that too. I don't think Sweet Lou got any.
They turned more double plays than any other team.
They must have played. I'll bet they played 12 years together.
Yeah.
What about Tinkers to Evers?
Tinkers to Evers to Chance.
Oh, another rivals would be Chris Everett against Martina Navratilova. What a rivalry
that was a great
was.
rivalry. That was a spectacular
in tennis.
rivalry.
That was a fantastic one. So I just wanted to throw them out.
And
of course, you got others here like Meadowlark Lemon and Curly Neal. We mentioned that about a week ago.
Meadowlark
let's
and
see,
Curly.
Who else we got here? Oh, we got Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison. They for a long
Marvin's
time.
a tad obscure, but he's a great player. He's probably gonna. There's a guy who's probably gonna make the Hall of Fame.
So if anybody has any more to think about that, or Carlton. Now here's an interesting one. That one player isn't exactly as good as the other, but they formed a duo that really mattered. Was Steve Carlton and Tim McCarver.
Tim McCarver and one of your favorite duos.
Tim
Carlton.
McCarver, his claim to fame was catching Steve Carlton. and
Gibson,
Bob
McCarver
Bob
caught
Gibson
it. Yeah,
as
he
well.
caught them both.
Our
That's
producer just threw out at me and got mad at me about. But pardon? Belichick and Brady. Very good. Or Popovich and Duncan. Coach and player right there.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things I wanted to throw out also is the football is going to have to do something about all of these pass interference calls. And something, I'm not proposing it, but I can see it's going to go the way of instant replay, where it's going to be the same type of deal where you're allowed to challenge three passes over 10 yards down the field. Because what's happening right now is a lot of these plays and games, they're not being decided, but drives are being continued by a lot of very, very questionable calls. I don't think it's possible for the officials on a long pass. If you're looking at the ball, I just think it's almost impossible to get the call exactly right on who's got their hands on whom.
Right.
So I don't know what you thought about that, but I'm watching the playoff games and all of these controversial, pass interference calls. I think what the heck? Something's going to have to be done. Maybe just try to get 3 challenges in for it. I don't know what else you can do.
Well, there's always going to be the human element in these games.
I hope.
We can't get away from the human element.
I agree.
They make the best calls they can possibly make. They've got the advantage of instant replay now, and so they're doing the best they can. I don't know what else they can do.
Well, I guess that's right. But like I said, I know that they're just
it's
like with the
unfortunate.
timeouts now. You're allowed to you give up a timeout if you challenge a play.
You know what I don't like? I don't like an offensive player. He's run down the field side by side with a defensive player.
Yeah.
and the ball gets thrown on the inside of the defensive player.
Yeah.
And the offensive guy goes
back to get it
through him to get it.
Yeah.
And they call a flag on the defensive
well, that's
guy.
what I'm talking about.
That's a bit much for me.
Well, that's where they are. That's where they are right now in that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how they can say that's the defensive guy's fault. If they're both going for the ball, now I understand the call when the guy is shielding the receiver or not looking and blocking, like that. They both got to be looking back at the ball.
Well, like I said, these are all things I noticed. Like I said, even with a lot of these Hail Marys, and I just watch. The officials got to watch the ball in flight and see what happens when it comes down. But I'm talking about the guys that are being hand-checked 15, 20 yards down the field. I just wonder if the officials are getting the calls right. And I would think there's going to be enough complaints that there's probably going to be something popping up pretty soon with the league where they're going to be challenging some of these calls.
Well, I think what isn't called enough is offensive pass interference. I see that just as much, if not more.
You're stealing my thunder because I think that's exactly why we need it, because the offensive receivers
you have two guys together,
push off big time.
Push off and get the ball, and they get the touchdown. They don't get the call. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are running out of time. We're going to be wrapping up this session of Shots from the Bench. We have some outstanding trivia questions that I'll just bring up next week, and we'll get to those. But in the meantime, I want to thank Bob Murphy, my partner, Greg Malinzuk, the producer and the sanity keeper back here, for running the soft drinks for us and doing a great job with the cameras as he always does. And we will be back next Sunday, which is Super Bowl Sunday, correct?
I believe
Super Bowl next Sunday.
2
Next
weeks?
Sunday.
Is it 2 weeks?
No. Oh, that's right. What am I doing? I'm jumping the season. I'm so old that I forgot that they skip a week or two. So
we'll have plenty of Super Bowl hype,
and we'll have plenty of hype and plenty of things to talk about next week. So we'll see you next week here at Margarita Republic with another edition of Shots from the Bench. Thanks for coming.
I thought that went very well.
Yeah. Flies by. Now it's just absolutely screaming by.